This is Alysha Price, and I am here with Co-Parenting Confessions. I am so happy for our second episode, and we're about to really dig in deep. I got some girls here with me, and we're going to kick it, and we're going to talk about dating and co-parenting. And what I want you to really pay attention to in this episode is find yourself in what we're talking about. Recognize, are there some things that we're saying that maybe have happened in your life and that maybe you want to work on or you want to change, but nonetheless have a good time and laugh at yourself, because we are here with Co-Parenting Confessions. And today I have two amazing ladies with me who have great energy, and they are mothers. And so we're going to dive in. I have Nakara Fortje, and she is a community activist, an artist, and a mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And then we have Lillian Toins, who is a self-proclaimed, a entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur is what she said. Serial entrepreneur, a chef, and an author.
Yes. Come on, chef.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And as soon as I read chef, I was like, ooh, I need to know what that's about.
Okay.
Like, I need some food, Lillian.
Right.
So today, you guys, we are going to talk about dating. And not just dating and being a single mother and what co-parenting looks like dating, but dating and meeting the other woman of your co-parent. What that experience has been like, what it's even been like for your children, how you navigate that. And we're going to have some fun with it. So I'm going to kick this off. I have met quite a few girlfriends in my co-parenting experience, and not always because they were introduced to me. We talked about that last episode, that we struggled with what it meant to introduce a new partner. And in my coaching work with the organization that I have learned to tell a lot of mothers in particular to not focus so much on the introduction, because that person may not really be as important to your co-parent as you're making them out to be. And, give them the space, to introduce the new person. So I'm going to dive in. Like, what has this experience been like for you guys? Please say the age of your child or children, so we kind of know what stage you're at. Everybody knows my baby is 21, and I'm not new to this, I'm true to this.
Okay.
So where you guys are at with it, and what's dating been like so far? So Nakara, if you could start.
Yeah, my baby is 4. He's already ready to be 5. He just turned 4 last week.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I have not had the opportunity to meet any girlfriends. Like, my co-parent is very non-committal.
Okay.
And so, when I'll hear about another woman for my son and be like, hey, like, it seems like Carter's spending a lot of time. It's like, it's not that serious.
Okay.
Oh, it seems serious to me. So it just, I've been on the other side, being the girlfriend, being introduced, but I've not met any on the co-parent side.
Yes, so. I love that. I want to learn about the girlfriend that's been introduced.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. Lillian, tell us what your experience has been so far.
So I have a 19-year-old, 17, and then 7. Okay. Don't ask me where that 7-year-old came from. She just slipped through the cracks. So I've never really been the girlfriend to meet the baby mom, but when my girls were younger, I was able to meet my ex-husband's new baby mama at the time. And so, in the beginning, he didn't actually introduce us. We just seen each other, right? And so, and then even with his new wife, I didn't even know he was married. And then we just kind of...
Tacky.
Listen, the way... Deadbeat. That's what we're going to go to. Deadbeat. Okay. And so... the way I even got to meet his ex-wife, the second baby mama had to tell me that he was married. And she like, did you know he was married and they got a baby on the way? She was like 9 months pregnant when I met her. And I was like, hello, like, how you doing? Like, I didn't know nothing. But, moving forward with my youngest, her dad, God, y'all pray for him. He he never really introduced me to anybody. I was always like, I'm going to meet this person because this person is around my daughter. And then at the time, my daughter was really young. She really, she can talk, but she didn't know at the time if someone was being mean to her. I'm like, okay, you spending a lot of time with this woman and y'all are, I didn't even know they was living together. He was lying about that. He told me, oh, I don't really mess with her like that. You know what I'm saying? She talked to her over FaceTime, but my baby didn't even know the woman's name. My baby was calling her Tina. So I was, for a second, my sister name is Tina, so I was like, Tina, like, you got some explaining to do while you over at my baby daddy house. And
not Tina at everybody baby daddy house.
Yeah. So later, later on, I found out that these people was like living in the same apartment and everything. And by that time, I was like, I need to know who she is.
Yeah.
Because if she runs off with my baby, I don't even know her face. And so, yeah. So I've been there.
That's an interesting point, though, because a lot of times people get caught up in, I need to meet the other person just because I need to know what's going on. But like you said, it could be a safety thing. Like if this person were to go somewhere with my child and something happened, I don't even know who to tell the authorities.
Yeah, and that's the thing. She was coming back home and she's like, oh, mommy, we went to the mall. I'm like, wait a second. Who is this woman? Like, I need to be able to identify her if I got a whoop on her or something.
He was leaving your baby alone with her.
He was leaving her alone with her.
So she babysitting.
She was babysitting and everything.
Child.
And one of the women he was leaving her alone with, I found out she was a whole witch. Like real witch, like, on the internet, like I do voodoo.
Yes.
I'm like, nigga.
Yeah.
And we come from a Christian background. So I'm like, what is you doing, little wizard? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do y'all got going on? So
this is so important. So today I put a post on Facebook and just kind of threw this question out there, right? Like, should your children meet the person before your co-parent does, or should the co-parent meet everybody, of course, had a bunch of different ideas and or strategies around what should happen, what shouldn't happen. Of course, it's different for different people, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's situational. But then you get those people who say, you don't need to know who my partner is regardless. We're not together anymore.
No,
right?
When they're around the children.
I do, because we share this child together. So I do need to know. Do I need to look this person up? And for me, like I said, I had to look the person up, and then I found out she was a witch. So I was like, no go. Like, we need to sit down and we need to talk.
Yeah.
And she's like, I haven't introduced her to my altar of ancestors. I was like, mother,
and you ain't.
And so I had to tell him, I know you're trying to be a good father, but she ain't going back over there until we figure something out. Like, I don't know what you and that woman gonna do, but for me, I had to go into prayer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, this woman need to go on about her business now. Go and find her a man that's gonna really love her. I prayed to her about my daughter life.
Yeah.
I don't care nothing what he got going on. You better find you another one. There's a million women out here. There's one Madison.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. Now, Nakara, you mentioned that your co-parent has been non-committal. So it's not like he's not introducing you to a person, but you know that your son has been around people. How has that felt for you, or is it not of concern?
It's uncomfortable, for sure, because, you can say that this woman is not important to you, but she's important to my son. And he means everything to me. I want to know who's loving on him. I want to know everybody who matters to him. So she might not be important to you. And that sucks for y'all. I don't know what y'all got going on, but she's around enough to make a difference and to make an impression on my baby.
Oh, that gave me chills.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a good point, because kids develop relationships with these people that they're around. And if they're seeing them consistently, and then sometimes with these relationships, there are women that will try to buy the love of the children, spend a lot of time with the kids so that they cement themselves into the lives of these men.
And it don't work. It don't work. And it hasn't. I don't know if that's their situation, but my baby is a empath, very young. He's all about the vibes. He don't just kick it with everybody. So if he's liking this person and like speak, and he speak highly of her, I want to know her. She sound cool. I'm not trying to be in your business, but this is somebody who's spending in a lot of time with my child. So it's important to me. And
that is so real.
Yeah.
Oh, the chill from that.
It's real.
That is so real. Now, what is it like to be the girlfriend who meets the other woman?
I'll never make it that far.
I should say the other woman, but the mother of the
ex,
children.
Yeah. Very interesting to your story. You said you met a girl at a kid function. Very similar situation.
Okay.
So I had not met my partner's ex-wife, and I was advised that she did not want to meet me, that she was cool as long as, her kids felt, respected and everything was cool. She was fine. I respect that. I don't know what you know what I mean? It's not, it doesn't feel like a disrespect thing. I would like to meet you. I spend a substantial amount of time around your kids, but I can't force that on you.
Yep.
So he brings me to like his niece's event, and the whole family's there. And I did not know she was going to be there.
Wow.
So now I want to give him GD glasses. But, I got to be cool because, I'm not going to bring no static to this event. But so that portion of it was uncomfortable. I would have liked to have been given a heads up because this is important to me. Maybe it's not important to y'all, but it's important to me. And so she was kind. She was respectful. It wasn't any, I didn't even get the vibe that she had never wanted to meet me, which raised a little suspicion. But I don't think that was the time and place.
Yep. I think men struggle with figuring out or coming to the realization that if they would have some kind of structure to these things, that it would actually be better. Like there's a fear. They're kind of like driven at times by the fear of these two women meeting and/or talking. And so if I can keep them from doing that, perhaps it makes things easier for me.
And is that just their sneaky nature? Because why?
Yeah, and I feel like that's a little narcissistic. It's like, I don't want you to, my new girlfriend, to find out what I done did to this woman. Because I'm pretty much the same person. You know what I'm saying? And so they try to, build this wall up. Don't talk to her. Because for me, my ex-husband, he lied to his ex-wife and to his second baby mama, and he said that he asked for a divorce and I was this person and da-da-da-da-da, and that was all a lie. I'm like, nigga, I divorced you. Like, what is all these lies about? And my baby's father, he did the same thing. Like, oh yeah, I left her because she was toxic, and I'm like, I kicked you out. Like, you was toxic. You know what I'm saying? And I think that because they come in with this, they want to come in with a clean slate, and they don't want anybody to say these negative things about them. So it's like, don't talk to her and put up this wall. And maybe that's why I never actually got to meet them, because when it was time, them women was gone. They had disappeared. I was like, Tina, where you at? So yeah.
So those relationships have been short to the point where you haven't met the person. They haven't been there long enough for you.
Like I seen the first girlfriend, out a few times, and she was mean mugging. I'm like, what that dude done told you about me? Yeah. So right away, I'm like, he told you negative things about me, and maybe he told you some things that maybe lied and said that I said some things about you. I don't even know you. I still think your name Tina. I'm just now finding out your name is something else. So, I mean, I don't know if just the relationships didn't work out before I got to meet these women, but I didn't get to meet them.
Wow.
They are mysteries.
And the other big thing is the relationships a lot of the times are short-lived, right? And so when we're introducing people to our children and not really sure yet that they're going to be a permanent person in our lives, how just topsy-turvy that can be for everybody.
For sure.
Right? Like we're working ourselves up to include you. Are you a part of the village? Are you not a part of the village? You know, my child might like you. And then, you know, what's happening? And then all of a sudden there's somebody else.
But also that's part of determining whether they should be a part of the village. You got to meet the village to know,
the village.
if this is a fit. Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, it sucks when it don't work out, but it's like sometimes you meet the village and it's the village side-eyeing them or they side-eyeing the village. Like, I don't know if I want to be part of this. You know, so that can help you, help sway your decision.
Yeah. I love that you guys have the experience. Or I think, Lillian, did you mention you met somebody's children from someone who you were dating? Or you hadn't done that?
I had some boyfriends. So.
So,
no, I never.
What for me, in 21 years, I've dated, of course. My son has met someone who I was in more of a long-term, you know, kind of situationship with. But I always talk about the fact that my son's father never like saw me with another man in all of these years. He's never run into me with this guy. I never brought anyone to any family function, no event, no nothing.
Wow.
I kept it all very separate.
You're good.
He has no,
Right?
like,
I'm in awe.
yeah, there's no vision of him ever being like,
And that's
I
on
ran into
purpose,
them,
like
I saw
trying
them.
to.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be separate. Like I felt very different about what I wanted my family time to look like. And I didn't feel, although I will be honest and say that I have a lot of love for that individual, there were times on and off where I just didn't know how he really would fit in my life for the long term.
Wow.
And so because of that, I held it really sacred to me that meeting my son's father or me introducing you to him really kind of cements you in my life.
Yeah.
I held that at a very high level or kind of high esteem.
I would imagine from a man's point of view, though, that you're with, they're like, well, damn, you sure do value this nigga.
And that was an issue early on.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of like, oh, that was a big one. I remember the guy that I was dating, like, didn't understand that we did Christmas presents or Father's Day gifts or birthday presents. You know, he was just like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
I'm the daddy now.
Why are you buying, you know, why are you buying Christmas presents? And so the thing that was really interesting though, I didn't change any of that. It was like, if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I can explain it to you. And if you're willing to be on board with what we do, then great. And so over time, he learned to accept that and love it and be like, this is dope. Like now that I see who you guys really are. But the way that they actually met, they ran into each other at a store. And the guy that I was dating at the time, he went up to my son's father and was like, hey, I'm him. Like, I'm sure you heard my name before. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And he came back to the house and was like, I just saw Wendell. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And I introduced myself to him. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
And I was like, well, how did that go? And he said, I told him who I was. And he was like, yep, I've heard of you. My son thinks that you're cool.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been around you for a long time. Like this, you know, glad to meet you. And that was that.
Wow.
But in 21 years, it didn't happen. It has not happened. You ain't coming to no event. You can come over to the family things or, you know, but
that's
my son's dad, I was like, no.
I feel like as a mom and then being a young mom, I got pregnant at like 17, had my first daughter at 18. I grew up with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to meet nobody. You know, I was so sheltered that the mistake I made when my girls was little is even the guys that I wasn't dating, maybe they were just friends, right? I would, you know, I would introduce them to my kids. And so once my kids got older, and then I got 3 girls, so you know, all that started going and I'm like, you know, why you doing all that? And they like, you had boyfriends. And I'm like, girl, I ain't had no boyfriends. And so just as a mother, you know, we have to be careful of who we even allow our kids to be around because even though it might feel innocent to us, You know, to a kid, they like, that is not Uncle David. They're smarter than what we think. You know what I'm saying? And so I just, that's just my advice to especially young women.
Absolutely.
We always thinking, he my friend. He my friend. These boys ain't your friend. They don't want to be your friend. They trying to get in your pants. I had to learn that the hard way. But you know what I'm saying? I think that's so important for, not even for young moms, for older moms to understand you got to be careful who you allowing your kids around and all that, But I ain't never let nobody eat up my kids' fruit snacks or nothing. But,
You weren't sharing the Capri Suns.
No, we weren't doing all that, but it still affected my kids.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And so the other thing big for me, I think, why I didn't even plan it that way, it was just kind of like, as I was feeling the vibe, right? Of like how I felt things needed to go. And also, I'll admit, I could be a bit of a control freak. And so it was important to me to maintain control of what my family narrative was.
Yeah.
And also who I was as a mom, right? Like if I don't like you next week, no, I'm not introducing you.
Yeah.
So that was big for me. But I have a son. So the other thing, not only did his father not meet anyone from me introducing him, my son in all of these years has only met one man. No, two.
Okay.
Two.
Yeah.
And so he was just kind of like, the guy that was in my life for a substantial amount of time, he was fixed. Like, oh, that's who this is going to be. So if there would have been anybody new, he would have been like, wait a minute, I don't get it. Because outside of him, all he knew was his dad being around me.
Yeah.
So I was really cautious of that. But I will say this, and this has been a new realization for me with a 21-year-old. When that particular relationship had been on again, off again, on again, off again, and my son's getting older and older and older, then I had to call the question to myself, how much of this relationship do I want my son to see?
Yeah.
Because now he has an opinion. Now he has dated. He's been in his own little relationships.
Yeah.
He's seeing things. And I had to finally just say, you know what? This isn't for me because it's not for us. Because my son made a comment to me and was like, when are you just going to be done?
Whew.
And that was a big realization for me, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, adores this guy, but he's like, listen, Mom,
He understood.
I don't get like
the back and forth.
Like, is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen?
Yeah.
What's the deal? And so I was like, yeah, it ain't gonna happen. We done.
Make an executive decision.
Yes, I'm gonna make the executive decision. We done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, my son has an opinion as a toddler. He'll ask me like, Mommy, do you got a boyfriend? And I'll say no. Me and my partner might be beefing at the time. I'll say no. He'd be like, yes, you do. Your boyfriend is Dante. Like, sir, relax.
Dante?
Like, girl, you better claim your man, girl. So, yeah, that's really important at any age, I think. But, yeah, especially as they get older, it's like, nah.
That's deep. I love that I have this experience of meeting a girlfriend at an event. And you were introduced.
Yeah, as you were telling me the story, I was like, I was that girl. I was not the ride.
Yeah.
I was not the ride.
Yeah.
I was living with
them
him.
are the rides, and they don't
together.
know
She was aware of me, but it was just like, this is where we meet. For me, I don't know. I was raised different. My parents were cool. My mom, my father, my stepfather, they were friends. Like, they was tight.
Yeah.
My mom would act up. And my dad would call her like, hey, like, don't treat my buddy like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were cool. And so I think I have tried to force that on my co-parent.
We're living in a different time, though.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good, too. My parents were never married. I lived with my mom and dad on and off because their relationship would be on and off. So it's like, okay, now we all live together again. Okay, now I live with my mom. Now I live with my dad.
Yeah.
And they did that back and forth for several years. but they've always maintained an unconditional love for each other and friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew what co-parenting was, and I was not going to accept anything less than that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I had that example, and so I modeled that with my co-parent, and I'm so grateful that he followed my lead with that. But I also understand that based on what your family dynamic is, we want certain things and we want to do the same, and it's just not what they had.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We can literally take that blueprint and then decide what we want to do with it, which room I'm gonna knock these 3 walls down and build, a bigger bathroom here. Because for my parents, them being together, my parents have been married for 46 years. So I was the one like, my kids is gonna have a father, because I had my father's still in my life, right? I can call my daddy for anything.
Yeah.
And so I wanted that for my kids, but for my ex-husband, when he decided, I'm just gonna play a deadbeat dad for 10 years, I was like devastated, like,
Yeah.
my dad didn't walk out, so I didn't understand it. I was like, what do I do with this new information
if you leave
now?
me, don't leave the kids.
Yeah, like, dude, I divorced you, and when he couldn't get his way, because he tried to play that whole role with his new baby mom, like, I'm gonna take the kids with me, and then we're gonna be a family. I'm like, no, y'all not, because he was even in court, like, I have a family, and she's a single parent. I'm like, so?
Right.
You don't get to just take my babies. And so when that didn't happen, he just disappeared.
Wow.
And so I didn't know what to do with that. And I was just like, okay. But my kids was lucky enough where I was in a relationship on and off for about 12 years. And once he got involved in my kid's life at like 3 years old, he never left. He became their dad, and so we were blessed for that,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of like lost. Like, do I go find him?
Right.
Like, where, he wasn't paying no child support. He just disappeared. We were like, where you at? Where you at now? And the girlfriend, she was gone too, because sometimes we expect that the new girlfriend is going to have like
a positive
influence, and I guess they was both just happy like she gone.
That I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was one of the last things I really want to talk about, was when there's a woman who's in the life of the father but is not supportive of him as a parent, or is not supportive of him nurturing a healthy co-parenting relationship, because they feel like that is really messing with their relationship, messing with their footing.
I'm going through that right now.
See?
With my 17-year-old is, her dad, God bless him, but the wife, you would think to yourself, we got somebody level-headed, maybe she's going to be the one to, go to your cheer practices, or, take you over here. And she's always coming up with an excuse. And so badly, I wanted to tell my daughter, like, she a deadbeat too. She's a deadbeat number 2. But I can't tell her that, because what I've done for my kids is I've always let them make their own decision about their dad.
Good for you.
I've never told them anything bad. I'm like, they're going to get older and they're going to learn for themselves, So, yeah.
That's a good point. Like, allowing children to determine who their parent is, right?
For sure.
Because their parent is who their parent is outside of your partnership with them, right? But there are some characteristics that bleed across those roles,
For sure.
right? Where they may be like, hey, they weren't consistent. They don't show up on time. There are all sorts of things that they'll eventually see. But one of the things that we have, all 3 of us, in common, is we talked about our fathers. Like, our fathers are there and being there. And I love that, because we got 3 Black women sitting here saying we ain't got no situations where daddies ain't around. Which is what a lot of times people want to put on us particular, especially Black women.
That's a bad stereotype.
Right. If you're a single mother, or then you must have grown up without your dad.
Yeah.
And absolutely not the case in this. But what happened for me, having my father in my life, made me make 0 excuses for what it was going to be around my son having his father.
Wow.
And I will say that as my co-parenting confession, I'm grateful that it turned out that way. in terms of my son's father being there.
Mhm.
However, there were many sleepless nights. There was a lot of stress,
Mhm.
a lot of weight loss at times, because I was working overtime
Yeah.
to make sure he was there
Mhm.
because I had my dad. So I did a lot of things that I think at an early stage, I swallowed my pride a lot.
Okay, but can you unpack that?
Yeah.
What did you have to do to make sure that he stayed in his life?
So I think huge for us was getting to the space and place where, like, okay, if your life doesn't necessarily look how I want it to, but I'm still going to let you see your son.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
I still,
important.
So I still, and it's crazy as it is. I picked my son up and like I pick him up from daycare and I would drop him off to his dad at the girl's house that he cheated on me with.
You sound like my mama.
I dropped him off. And it took me, even when I say it sometimes, it's like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
But it's not about me.
It wasn't
about your son.
Thank you.
Come on.
It was not about me. And then, even more so, it was about my son. And then next, I put his father. Because I also knew how important it was for him to maintain a relationship with his son so that he could be better than who he was presenting himself to be at that time. If I would have taken his son from him, he would have had no reason in the world to not.
He would have had the excuse. She won't let me see my son.
Right. And so what am I living for? And I'm just out here, right? Just being however and whatever. And he actually said that in the first episode where he talked about how grateful he was that I allowed our son to be with him because it made him get his life together.
Yeah.
It gave him this structure.
Wow.
Also, I realized really quickly, I still deserved a break.
Come on.
Even if you was going to go over there to spend the night and it was one night, I'm about to go to Club Cancun on this one night.
Get your baby.
Girl, sometimes I went through a separation just to get the break.
Thank you.
This ain't going to work out. I don't think this is going to work out. You and the kids need to go.
Yo.
I had to come to the realization that, it was important for them to have a relationship, but it was also important for me to exercise self-care.
Instead of being superwoman and doing it all for what? To be wore out?
Yeah. To be depressed, and then you ain't no good to nobody. And that's my thing. It's like I want my my daughter's dad to have a good woman in his life. And I need him to have a good woman in his life.
You sound like me, girl.
Yes, because when it's my time, I might, he gets her every weekend. Me and my youngest daughter dad came a long way. He had tried to go through the phase of being a deadbeat, and I was like, no, nigga. No, you gonna help me with her. We ain't doing that one. And so he's an excellent father now.
I love
and he is involved in her life every weekend, like clockwork. But there are some days where it's like a Wednesday where I'm like, can you maybe pick her up from school and then keep her? And he's like, nope, it ain't my weekend. So I'm like, if you get you a good woman in your life.
Come on.
I know if you get a good woman in your life and I call, hey, Brenda.
Right.
Can y'all get Madison for a week? I got to go to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
All right, Brenda yes, Madison can come. Thank you, Brenda. You done helped all of us out.
Yeah.
And so, I ain't trying to use Brenda, but Brenda, sometimes I need...
Listen.
Get him together. Get him together.
I'll be the best man, best woman I will officiate the wedding. Okay?
I really want my co-parent to be happy.
Yes.
See,
I want him to be happy. I want him to be his best self for our son.
Yes.
And I feel like he's a relationship person, and I want to see him have that.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're not at your best, we not at our best.
Yeah.
And the kids, they see that.
They see that. They feel that.
I want him to be successful, happy, so she understands when she get older, my mom and dad were dope.
Yeah.
They co-parenting well together. I don't want... my kids to be like, oh, they were bickering back and forth and this, that, and the third. Kids grow up and they hear that
Absolutely.
stuff, and that hurts them.
It does.
They want their parents to be happy. I remember one time we took my daughter ice skating, and she was like, oh, can both of you guys give me a kiss on my cheek?
Oh.
And we were like, yeah. And then we was going in to give her a kiss on her cheek, and then she bit down so we can kiss. And she didn't know at that time I wanted to knock her dead head off his shoulders. You know what I'm saying? But for her, she's like, because kids sometimes wish that their parents could be together. They want to be in the same household with their parents. I grew up with my mom and dad. I want them to get a divorce so I get a break. It was 11 of us. I need a break. Can I go to your house on the weekend? But kids, they want to see their parents together. They want to see their parents happy. And that's really important. Yeah.
That's why for me, I think it's important. Like, even though we're not together, I like to have family time. I push for that. My co-parent don't really be with that. Like, if it ain't a holiday or like, he don't want to hang out with me, I'll be like, you want to come with us? Nah. So I don't know. I can't do nothing but pray for him. Yeah. But I want that because I had that.
But I feel like your son is so young that y'all have time.
There's time. Yeah. Yeah. That's true because he's 4. We did that though. We did a lot of things together. So we would do. My son was saying like we do concerts together and movies, and I was so shocked that he mentioned when I said, well, what has made co-parenting work for us? What's been the thread? And my son said music. And I was like, oh, I didn't even really think about that. But he was just like, yeah, like we're joined by music. And that's just it's been a thread for us. And I was like, wow. But I think it's so important to remember, like you're saying, Lillian, that our children want something sometimes different than what we want. And they are looking for what is the relationship? What is the connection? So even if it's somebody that they're dating, they're trying to either, are they there? Are they not there? Is this person, do they go together? Don't they go together? Is their boyfriend and girlfriend? Or, what is it? Right? They're always trying to figure it out because they're so... they're at these formative stages when they're really young, right? Where they're trying to understand what is the role of these people in my life.
Exactly.
So important. Well, if we could leave everyone with a confession, something that we recognize in the dating, whether we were the person meeting someone or wished that we met the new relationship, what we could have done differently, what would we confess to have made that experience either more positive or that someone might learn something or take something from some craziness that we done been through?
I would say follow your gut, not your heart. Because our heart, the world tells us all the time, follow your heart. Do not follow your heart. Your heart is the seafood in a mug, right? But your gut really never lies. And sometimes us as adults, we get lonely and then we start to ignore our gut and then we just go follow our heart. And then our kids are around somebody that they shouldn't probably be around, right? And so let's not be selfish as parents, right? If you know that that man ain't no good for you, he's not going to be good for your kids. And so don't go introducing your kids to him. Let him go because he's going to bring all this bad energy into your life. And then now you're depressed and you're not, taking care of your kids like you're supposed to. So my advice is to literally follow your gut.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
F that heart.
I would say a couple things. I think acknowledging that everybody's on their own timeline and their own healing journey. So you cannot force your agenda and your good intentions on other people, whether that's your co-parent, whether that's your partner, whether that's your partner's ex, the kids, nobody. You know what I mean? Like I have a deep desire for a solid family dynamic across the board. And that comes with time and patience and cultivating that. And then also I would say,
confess it, girl.
I would say, don't be quick to blame the new woman.
Ooh, that's so good.
For what your ex may not be doing. These niggas gonna do what they want to do.
That is so.
And I can be as authentic and loving and influential as I want to be, and he's still gonna move in his own time. So it comes back to that patience. Y'all know what y'all be dealing with. Take it up with him, sis.
That's so good.
Yep.
That's so good. I'm going to piggyback on that really quick because a lot of people will say, I won't date a man if he's not active in his kid's life. I won't date a man that's not paying child support or doing what he should do, right?
Yeah.
As if they have some jurisdiction over his actions, right? And so if you're with him and he stops doing those things, do you leave him?
Do you fall back?
Right. So I hear those types of comments and statements. I will say one of the things that I will confess is my son's father and I were friends since we were in the 4th grade. And I felt a sense of, what is the word? Like I wanted him to be well.
Yeah.
I wanted the right people around him.
So you was trying to control that.
There were times, not necessarily control it, but I was judgmental, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say, you shouldn't be with her, but I might be like, well,
it's the side.
I don't really know if she's gonna be the right one, right, for you. I don't know. And that was just early on with me, just kind of like what I felt like he needed.
Yeah.
We grew up together. And so I felt like I just knew him so well that I knew what he needed.
Yeah.
And so I would be judgmental.
Yeah.
So, not being fixated on fixing the other person. It's the same as what you're saying about like you heal in your own time.
Yeah.
You got to let it go.
Yeah.
Thankful that I learned very quickly to let it go. Let that shit go. Like let him, have these relationships because I was judgmental and I would see things. Let me say that. Yes, I was judgmental to start. And then I started watching actions and I could tell that certain people weren't going to be there. And I would tell him, like, this not going to be long term. I know she ain't going to be here.
But it's almost
like you just look like a hater.
But it's like our friends. Our friends can tell right away, like, girl, he ain't nothing, or he going to be around for a little bit. And then we can't see it. Yeah. And then we be going back, girl. You was right.
Right.
They got to get it for themselves, though.
Yep. And so because we're close and have that friendship, we went through that. Yeah. And there were times when he'd come back and be like, yep, I got to admit, you was right. Yeah. Like that wasn't what was up. Yeah. And so it took time, but I will leave our audience with this today. You got something? One last thing?
Another confession.
Yes. Woo, come on with it.
And because we're here, this is very appropriate. So I confess that I have tried to hook my baby daddy up with women. Because I do want to see him happy. I do. And beyond want to see him happy, I want to see my baby with a good stepmom.
Yeah, good stepmom.
You hear me? Like that. You feel me? Like I'm just trying to build my little village, for me and my baby. And I tried to hook my baby dad up with Alysha, y'all. I was like, she fine. She about her business. And she got all the co-parenting tips. She gonna help us. Okay? She gonna love my baby. Carter gonna love her. She got her head on
That
straight.
wasn't a good match because her son 21. She ain't gonna babysit.
I didn't need her to babysit. I need her to babysit.
I need a babysitter.
Okay? Make that nigga happy. Okay? They both.
I wasn't gonna say nothing. I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't
a 4-year-old. What you gonna do with a 4-year-old?
I was plotting on Alysha. Okay? She might want to kick it with a little. She only got one son. Oh, she might, she might want to live vicariously through another time.
I'm telling you right now, ain't no 4-year-old coming in my life.
You don't know what Alysha.
And if you got a 4-year-old,
but anyway,
you stay away.
The piece you was talking about controlling, right? And it's coming from it's coming from a good place.
It is.
But I was wrong. Yeah. So I'm sorry to my co-parent. I was overstepping my boundaries. Yes. She's definitely a catch, but that's not for me to say. That's not for me to dictate. So I want it for him. I got to pray for it for him. Yeah, I can't be trying to play matchmake. Girl, it was you and one other girl. I was like,
that is good. Jesus, that's good.
He's a good man, Savannah. Yo, I'm running down his good qualities. They like, sis, why you don't want him? Okay. So that's my confession.
I love it. I love
it. And it was so on time for me to be here. This is very full circle. I have evolved. I don't push that on him no more. I mind my business.
I love it.
And I just pray behind the scenes.
I love it.
That's good.
It is.
Praying in the background.
That's it. Me and Carter be praying together, child.
I thank you guys so much for being here. This was so fun.
Yes.
I hope that our audience gets some nuggets from our conversation today. We're being open and authentic and giving you our true selves, and we hope that you can see yourself in what we shared today. I want to make sure that everybody knows that if you are dating someone and you are a single parent and you're attempting to co-parent, make sure that person that you're dating is supporting you in your parenting. They're also supportive of you having a relationship with your co-parent, and you also want to make sure that that person is interested in the well-being of your children. Now, we're not saying that they have to play a role as a parent, but they have to be supportive. Also, make sure that their family dynamic is intact. Are you hearing that they're not getting along with their co-parent? Well, they may encourage you to not get along with yours. So you need to have your ears and your eyes open. And as Lillian said, don't focus so much on your heart, but follow your gut. And thank you so much for being here today with Co-Parenting Confessions. We are going to be back soon.
That was fun.
That was so
MBC. No relation to NBC.